It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for asking me to do the opening session. So good morning, good evening, and namaskar, everyone. And I'm Susan Ferguson. I'm the country representative of UN Women here in India. As many of you know, last year was really pivotal for digital transformation. In September 2024, the Global Digital Compact was adopted by 193 member states and territories, recognizing the potential of digital public infrastructure in promoting inclusive digital transformation and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. The United Nations simultaneously released the Universal DPI Safeguards Framework, which is a guide to building safe and inclusive digital public infrastructure. And it really provides actionable guidelines for this kind of infrastructure to serve the public's interest. At its core, digital public infrastructure is an enabler which, when designed using a gender-responsive approach, can facilitate better access to public services for everyone. It can reduce discrimination and really strengthen social innovation around delivering key services, for example, to the last mile and vulnerable populations. But it really does have to have a gender lens right from the beginning to ensure that it itself is not discriminatory. For digital public infrastructure to work for women and girls and all stakeholders, actually, governments, regulators, donors, technology providers, and civil society advocates must really consider the life arc of a girl child throughout their lives to old age. We really have to understand how digital ID, finance, and data exchange can be leveraged to deliver tangible benefits for women and girls in all their diversity across their lifetimes. For UN Women, our strategic priorities on this kind of infrastructure, which we believe will help us reach the Sustainable Development Agenda by 2030, include facilitating access to public services and remedies for discrimination, violence, and other illegal conduct. And that's the subject, particularly, of our session today. We also pay particular attention to connecting marginalised and diverse groups of women and girls to these goods and to supporting the organisations that are working in this space. We like to foster social innovations and partnerships essential for promoting the inclusion of women and girls. And we're engaged in a number of countries, and we're hoping to do more of this in India also, in designing effective data reporting mechanisms to support transparency on the impact of these digital public goods and infrastructure. So today's webinar is really us working with you to build a knowledge base of how to include more women and girls in the development of digital public goods. As I said earlier, without looking at women as part of an integral part of the development of this area of infrastructure, we know from other experience in other thematic areas and other infrastructure that women will be left out, and that infrastructure will not be maximized to ensure everyone benefits. So in India, and I know that the Indian representatives here will talk a lot more about this. I'm very much looking forward to hearing from you. But I know that India has built a really robust DPI ecosystem that includes a digital identification layer, which is Aadhaar, a payment system, unified payment interface, and a data exchange layer, which is an account aggregator. So I think everyone in India on a daily basis uses a number of those different areas in our ordinary lives here. I don't think I could survive without some of the UPI payment system. They're really foundational layers, and they've been designed to support continuous innovation and growth. The combined impact of these interventions has really transformed the Indian economy and boosted productivity. It's supported equitable growth as well. India's DPI has gained international recognition, including endorsements from the IMF and multiple nations, actually, during India's G20 presidency. So India's digital public infrastructure has expanded consumer choice, supported entrepreneurship, increased competition, and reduced service provider dependency. It's also created fair opportunities for businesses while enhancing quality of life for individuals. I know that I can walk down the street. There's a seller who sells fruit and vegetables from a little cart, and I can pay with a QR code everywhere in India. And that really has benefited a number of women's businesses in particular. So globally, there's consensus that artificial intelligence also holds transformative potential, but is also subject to the same kinds of risks. Unless we are designing and developing both the infrastructure and the policy and regulations for AI and DPI, we miss out opportunities to include women and girls and to make sure that we are part of this incredible revolution, I would say. In today's session, you'll hear from eGov Foundation about how they're leveraging DPI to expedite scholarships for girls, enabling them to continue their secondary education. And this initiative really focuses on reducing the high school dropout rates among girls and helps prevent child marriage. So, fascinating initiative. Additionally, we'll explore initiatives currently underway in South Asia, in other parts of South Asia, and also Southeast Asia, which aim to provide integrated access to justice services for women and girls, both to prevent and respond to various forms of violence. I'm very keen to hear what some of these innovations are. So, to drive home the point once again, there's really huge potential to integrate gender considerations into digital public infrastructure and digital public goods. We have to get this right now. We really have to include women and girls and focus specifically on women and girls and the lives that women and girls in all their diversities lead, so that we can develop infrastructure that benefits everyone and reaches the full potential of this amazing infrastructure that's beginning to emerge around the world. So I really look forward to hearing the examples from everyone and exploring the opportunities to collaborate further from the India Country Office. And I think this is something that UN Women as a whole is interested to collaborate on. So thank you very much again for having me here today, and very much looking forward to the conversation. And with that, back to you, Kate.
Thank you, Susan. As you mentioned, 2024 is an important year. We will have Moritz speak a little later in this session about the launch of the Global Digital Compact and the Universal DPI Safeguards Framework. But I want to give a little bit of flesh to what these terms mean, DPG, DPI, because we'll be using them all through this webinar. Bearing in mind that these are relatively new terms for ways of working that have been around for a couple of decades. If we look at digital public infrastructure, the Global Digital Compact describes it as society-wide, safe, inclusive, interoperable digital capabilities that have the potential to deliver public services at scale and increase social and economic opportunities for all. Digital public goods were described in the UN Secretary General's Roadmap for Digital Cooperation as open source software, open standards, open data, open AI systems, open content collections that adhere to privacy and other laws and best practices, do no harm, and most importantly, help attain the Sustainable Development Goals. And over the last year, UN Women has been working with a range of partners to conceptualize how DPGs and DPI can be leveraged to advance a range of SDGs, but in particular SDG 5 on gender equality and SDG 16 on access to justice. It's important to realize through this webinar that the D for digital in DPI and DPG does not substitute for face-to-face interaction with trusted intermediaries, the frontline services that we all use, healthcare workers, early learning centers, education centers, women's empowerment, livelihood, self-help groups. At its best and at its most inclusive, DPI and grassroots mobilization and community development mechanisms will work together to realize the inclusion and scale that DPI envisages. Access Now, in a recent paper, said this, and I think it's really important for us to consider these sort of ideas as we listen to the speakers today. To create truly public digital infrastructure, it's essential to prioritize the needs and rights of individuals, particularly those most vulnerable to exclusion and coercion. This requires a shift from viewing DPI as a purely technical solution to understanding it as a social process that must be governed by principles of equity, inclusion, transparency, and accountability. And I think all through this conversation today, you're going to be hearing how the partners are doing just that. They live and breathe engagement with communities, and they understand the way that those communities need to engage with DPI and DPG and what they need it for. Before going to these amazing panelists, I just want to mention one thing. In 2024, UN Women also became a member of the Digital Public Goods Alliance, and we set out what we call roadmap activities for joining the alliance. What could be UN Women's contribution in this area? And really it hinges around 3 different points. Those points, as you would anticipate, are points at scale that affect women and girls in large numbers globally, and if resolved, would have very significant beneficial impacts for them throughout their life. The first area is how can we look at the DPI and DPGs and try to work towards prevention of child marriage. We have one DPG looking at civil registration, OpenCRVS, and we're partnering with OpenCRVS to look at the marriage registration component of what their portfolio could hold. At the moment, only birth registration and death registration is there. Another part of that work is age verification safeguard processes. Most child marriages are not registered. So we therefore, again, need to consult with our grassroots partners and work out how can these safeguard processes work at the village and local level where these marriages take place. So that's our first area. Our second area is looking at how can we link women, girls, and all people to the legal assistance services that they need when they are facing violence. And Agami will look at that in their presentation. How can we connect women and girls to sometimes paralegals who are in their community, who in turn can link to legal services when that's necessary? Kundorna in Thailand will talk to us about an application of that. How can we use DPGs to connect people who have been trafficked or people who have been subject to labor exploitation to grievance mechanisms that will enable them to obtain compensation for unpaid wages, but also connect with protection systems to seek physical security and escape from what they're experiencing. And the last area we're looking at is really how can we mobilize and join together and have more of these convenings, these webinars, and some documentation around what is happening globally, what are the examples we can draw on, how can we actually build on what we've learned, and we will have Moritz with us at the end to take us through the safeguards framework and to think how that can help us as we go forward on looking at DPG, DPI for gender justice. So that's a short introduction, but I'd now like to dive into some of the amazing country experiences and partnerships that have been developed. Over to you, Smita, to share some of Agami's amazing work looking at responsive access to justice services for women and girls experiencing violence. Thank you so much.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Kate. I'll just take a second to share my screen, and hopefully you all can hear me. Yes, I think you can see my screen now. A very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. I'm very sorry, could you not hear me? Can you not hear me?
We can hear you,
Kundrona, can you
Smita.
hear?
We can hear you, Smita. Thank you.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, great. As I was saying, good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you are. It's bright and early in India here today, and very excited to share what we've been up to. My name is Smita Gupta. I'm a lawyer based in New Delhi in India. And for the last 4 years, we've been working at Agami on identifying justice as a site for innovation for the benefit of all. Within Agami, we have a collaborative mission called Open Nyay, as you will see on your screen. Nyay actually means justice in Hindi. And so this is sort of our version of how do you open up access to justice by leveraging and unlocking the power of artificial intelligence. This is a collaborative mission that has been ongoing for the last 4 years, along with multiple partners and stakeholders across government, civil society organizations, communities, technological organizations, and many more, especially hinged around the power of entrepreneurs and innovators who are really working on these areas of advancing access to justice problem statements. Even as we talk about some of these problem statements, right, especially talking here about the rights of women and children particularly, the one thing that really came to our mind was, what are some of the areas that we can ensure that there is awareness for women and children, that they have access to information, and then they're able to use and benefit from the tools that are being created. And when we were thinking of that, we realized that justice reform efforts have historically been extremely siloed and institution-centric, meaning that each institution, department, organization within the government and privately, they have come up with their own processes, they've come up with their own efforts to digitize services. And once they've digitized these services and improved their processes, they try to open it up to users such as litigants, lawyers, citizens, marginalized populations. And they say, okay, why don't you go ahead and use this digitized service in the form of an app or a chatbot or a portal? But what ends up happening is that people are still struggling to secure justice, because what we're not doing is really looking at what do people need. We are not placing the user, the citizen, the justice seeker at the center of our efforts. What we need to do is collectively envision a dispute resolution ecosystem, and I come from that bias because as a lawyer, but a justice system that puts the needs of the people at the center. Now, let me break down a little bit of what that means and go into this really fun circle that we've been having fun building the last couple of days. If I can just zoom in a little, you'll be able to see that the first circle talks about what the user wants, right? And you can see there's a woman, child in the middle. And really the question, let's say, there are a couple of examples here of enrolling in a government scheme, settling property ownership, protecting your home from a construction or a mining project, or stopping domestic violence. So let's take this thread forward by saying that the user wants domestic violence to stop. And the reason we've articulated it such is that she is not asking, what legal rights do I have? Or can I send my husband to prison? She merely wants domestic violence to stop. And so if that is what the user truly wants, and in designing systems and digitizing processes, if we are to say what service could meet this particular need, what are the needs of this woman who's facing domestic violence from prevention to enforcement? And what are the various services needed to cater to these needs? You can see if we go a little bit broader in the circle, it talks about counselor services. Maybe she needs to hear from an expert who can counsel her both for her mental health, her physical health, her legal rights. Maybe she needs, from the comfort of her home, to be able to institute a case against the perpetrator of violence by using online dispute resolution mechanisms. Maybe all she needs is eligibility for identifying her eligibility and enrolling for a government scheme or benefit that entitles her to protection. Or maybe she needs the power of legal information in her hand to say, hey, this is domestic violence, first of all. Sometimes there is that lack of awareness that what you're going through may be a legal wrong and you're entitled to a legal remedy. So if you go a little bit broader again, the last circle talks about once you've identified that the user wants the domestic violence to stop, there is a counselor service that can really be useful to meet these needs, because maybe this counselor service is a frontline justice worker, as Kate was saying earlier, who works with communities and can actually come into the woman's home and speak with the husband and the couple. And what are some of these organizations who are offering these services? Could it be a paralegal organization? A paralegal meaning somebody who has both their feet in the community as well as the legal world and is able to identify the legal protection mechanisms that are available and protect and offer those to the woman. Are there any AI services? Are there any chatbots that a woman could go to immediately and say, I'm scared, what do I do? Are there civil society organizations, hotlines, helplines, child and women's helpline, these chatbots offered by both governments as well as civil society organizations? And then once we have identified these needs and these services, do we start really building the solution? Let me actually, now that I feel like we've been able to establish this sort of a framework in the story, let me take a step back and talk about what does it mean in terms of a digital public good. The last couple of years in India at OpenAI, we've been building Jugalbandi. Jugalbandi actually means a duet in Indian musical connotations. And so the idea is that you're having a duet or a meaningful conversation with an AI service as a citizen. It's a digital public good because it is powered by AI in an open source manner, providing multilingual and multimodal conversational services for access to both information as well as action. Meaning, I can go today on, let's say, WhatsApp or Telegram or any other social media service and ask my query, my grievance, my question in my own language, in voice, and receive a response back in real time in that language and in voice itself. Let's see what this actually looks like and what makes Jugalbandi a DPG. In a second, I'll just go to the next slide, which is a video talking about one such interpretation or one such use case built on Jugalbandi to provide access to legal aid and services to victims of domestic violence.
Hi, Shatarpa.
Hi, ma'am.
Good morning.
Shakti Shalini is a Delhi-based NGO that supports survivors of gender and sexual violence through shelter, counseling, and training.
मेरा नाम प्रिया वाटवानी है, मैं भी वकील हूँ, आई प्रो बोनो से हूँ। संक्षेप में बहुत ब्रीफ में मैं आपको समझाऊंगी क्या होता है, घरेलू हिंसा किस प्रकार की होती है, क्या रिलीफ हैं कानून के अंदर, क्या उपाय हैं, क्या सहायता मिल सकती है एक व्यक्ति को, एक पीड़ित व्यक्ति को। डोमेस्टिक violence as an issue cuts across class, culture, income. A lot of times women are afraid to speak up because of their family dynamics or because of societal norms. They might find it difficult to express themselves or even realize what's happening to them.
In early 2024, Shakti Shalini began testing Jagrat, a chatbot that can answer legal queries and guide users on where to seek help.
आप सीधे उस स्थान पर अधिकार क्षेत्र के साथ अदालत के साथ
आप उससे टाइप करके घरेलू हिंसा पे कोई भी सवाल पूछ सकते हैं और आप अपनी आवाज से भी हिंदी, इंग्लिश या कन्नडा में वो सवाल पूछ सकते हो, आपको जवाब देगा अपनी आवाज में।
साथी के परिवार, वैवाहिक परिवार।
The multilingual bot's replies come from a database collated and vetted by contributors and consultants like Priya Watwani.
This gives them that opportunity to be at whatever safe space they are in and access information in real time. What are the realistic avenues available to them to access help and support? What are the legal rights available to them? It's at your fingertips. It's on your phone. You don't have to go out and seek help from any third person or third party.
So what you saw there was a version or a use case of Jugalbandi that is being built by I Pro Bono and Shakti Shalini, which are civil society organizations who have been working with victims of domestic violence for many, many years. They've pooled together a panel of experts as well as victims and come together with information that is feeding this chatbot. So it's not coming from the internet, it's not coming from an unverified source. And all of this is available in open source, meaning that anybody could come today and build on top of it. What do we mean by that? There is a lot of conversation of building on top of solutions to ensure that it is actually a digital public good. Because when we think of a public good, we think of, let's say, a park or a pond or a river. But in terms, and then, you can do anything in a park. You can have stalls, you can have playgrounds. But when you say in the digital world, what does it mean to build on top of something? And I'll just, in a second, go to another video, which will talk about how using this chatbot that you just saw, people can not only receive information, but also have conduct some actions like registering and applying for legal aid.
Jagrit is essentially based on Jugalbandi, an open source platform built by AI for Bharat and OpenAI. And it can be extended to IVRS systems and can have multiple use cases such as property disputes, POXO Act cases, labor right cases, etc. Jagrit could also be modified to enable citizens to take action, such as applying and registering for legal aid via voice prompts on a chatbot instead of filling long forms. क्या आप मेरी ये फॉर्म भरने में मदद कर सकते हैं?
हाँ, मैं आपकी मदद कर सकता हूँ। आपका नाम क्या है?
मेरा नाम मीरा है।
आप कौन से तालुक से बोल रहे हो?
मैं कोलम तालुक से हूँ।
So what you saw there essentially was they were asking about, what are some of the, can you tell me your name? Can you tell me what district you're from? Can you tell me your mobile number and so on? And the woman is basically sending all of that information in voice. In doing so, the form is being filled in the back end. And at the end, she receives the legal aid form to register. Now, while all of these seem very exciting, and I know I'm short on time, I just want to quickly focus on these 4 points. How do you actually ensure that these digital public goods, like what we just saw, are going to be relevant and going to become meaningful for the most marginalized populations? Firstly, they have to be community-driven and co-created. I think we'll hear later on from Gramvani as well on how they've been able to leverage the power of community in being able to ensure that there is last mile access, there is meaningful access, and this is co-created by keeping, as my second point goes, by keeping the justice seeker at the center, by employing design principles of user centricity. Third is, how do you, once you've built it, you can have a proof of concept or a minimum viable product mindset. But once you've built it, who is going to maintain and continue to update and develop this service or the product so that it becomes more and more relevant? Do we require government intervention? Because they are the ones who can actually ensure that these services reach population scale. And even as that is happening, can we ensure that there is a robust tech for good community who is continuously building in open source by solving for these very real access to justice issues which come from the community itself, and continuously working to reduce and subsidize costs so that these services can scale and actually reach have the compounding effects that we wanted to have. And I'll sort of end on that point because I know we have something very exciting to hear from Masked Human next. And just wanted to show here that it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes countries, nations, societies, communities coming together to raise services that can help that child. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Smita, for that amazing review of the potential and the concept, the proof of concept, how it could work and how we could really engage with women's organizations, but a whole range of different organizations. It's my great pleasure now to introduce Kundona from Masked Human, a counter-trafficking organization that she founded in Thailand, to speak further about the amazing work that they're doing and how DPG4DPI could be used in both this protection way as well as legal assistance. Over to you, Kundona. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kate. And I would like to share my slides. Okay. Okay. So first of all, I would like to introduce myself. I am Anapa Sukri. I am co-founder and executive director of Masked Human. And for those who are not familiar with our organization, Masked Human is a Thai-based nonprofit social enterprise with its mission to combat human trafficking and forced labor. Our core principle is to leverage technology and collaboration to combat human trafficking. So basically, we believe in the collective action. So we drive positive changes to public-private partnership. Public-private partnership to combat human trafficking and also work with diverse stakeholders in terms of helping them, because we will build a technology called the Masked Human Intelligence, but we believe that technology is not a silver bullet. We need support system in terms of to helping people, the vulnerable population, including women and girls. So our initiative is, mostly in the area of public-private partnership. Last year, we signed MOU with Department of Special Investigation in Thailand in order to tackle special crimes that include human trafficking and provide robust support mechanism for to the report of crimes and also identify victims of human trafficking and also for prevention and protection. We have a 3-year MOU with the DSI. So we're going to work to protect more the vulnerable people. So let me introduce to you to our technology. It's a Masked Human Intelligence app. Our app is the app that is a crowdsourcing technology that designed surrounding user who working in the isolated condition. Our inspiration, as you see from our organization, is our fish that we have inspiration, first of all, to embark our journey from the fishing sector. Once we work and it turned out that our technology can work well for those who work in the fishing industry and also who work in isolated conditions like agriculture, mining, domestic violence, domestic workers, or other things. So we decided to have our app to be downloaded worldwide. It's worked well on iOS and Android. At first, we have 4 languages: English, Thai, Khmer, and Myanmar. And the next update going to be Filipinos, Indonesian, and Chinese. We launched 2023 in August. Now we have 22,000 users and growing. Our user in 22,000 is comprised of first of all, is Thai migrant workers who work in foreign countries around the world, for massage, restaurant, hotels, manufacturing, domestic workers, caregivers, and agriculture. And we have more and more in seafarers and fishing in the fishing sectors. And also we aim to protect migrant workers in Thailand as well. Our app is like we have like partner with our user in terms of having them to get something to protect themselves and in time of needs. First thing first, we ask them to create a profile in our app to give more information as possible, especially that we mandate to get emergency contract. Because once they have something that threatens to their life, once they press the fish figure button in our apps, they're gonna send alert to their loved one. We decide to have their loved one to act on their behalf and want them to be connected with their family because inspiration is that in the fishing sector, they lost contact with their loved one for 20 years, 15 years. So in this age, I think we don't let it happen anymore. So once they put that, we're gonna send an information alert to them with the location, precise location, and we advise them to contact law enforcement in terms of seeking help if they cannot identify the users. In the future, like Witness Report, we allow our user to report the crime secretly and securely. That means they see something happen to their peers, so they can report to that. This feature, we want to get into the data center of mass and also send the data sharing to law enforcement in Thailand or in other host country that we work with. Right now, if you see that the report is up to our system, but we currently we try to establish how we can send the data sharing with law enforcement. In Thailand, it's quite challenging, but we try to keep pushing on that. For the community feature, it's like we allow, I say that it's crowdsourcing. We believe that peer can look after peer, so we provide them with the feature for peer-to-peer discussion. And in this feature, we can allow them to ask us for help in terms of their needs. They can have a private chat with us, and we can send their case directly to our back channel with the DSI, so they can get help faster. And for so we work with vulnerable population. We want to protect them and also want to empower them. That means we can have like online training or other self-assessment for human trafficking for them to know their right and how to seek help. And the latest feature that we introduced is a grievance eliminated from our apps. You see that our app have a feature called instant report. If you see on the left side is the judicial grievance mechanism, and on the right side is company level. That means we work with in terms of the government and also with businesses. For report to authority and hotlines, we have a global hotline. So for the voice of your concern and also monitor your case is going to be work with the businesses. In terms of that, we want to give power to our user. That means they always have option. They can voice their concern and get limited from the business or company they work with, or they can have choice in terms of report the grievance and for the mechanism in terms of getting compensation on that. So that's how we plan to do on this one. For the access to justice that we now our system have. So in Thailand, they have many authorities and confusing our user in terms of which one is the competent authority and which one the right one to seeking help. In our report to authority, we setting some screening question to identify first which authority that proper. If you have to ask some question that we try to our best to make it simplify as much as possible, and then we provide link to the government for online complaint and other things. Actually, we in this report to authority, we working to get more on in terms of report through our system and send to the system, because somehow we know that the government online report desk is not simplified enough and hard to understand. So we have an ambition to work on that in order to make access to justice for more vulnerable population. For example, if they want to, from our app in this one, identify that they want to seek compensation, so they can press the link and our app can link them to the website of the government. And in theory, our government platform, in every platform, they provide protection. That means everyone, every nation list and who in Thailand that want to seek compensation, want to file a grievance, can file a complaint with the government through the report. But in reality, there must be only in Thai. That means you is I think for migrant workers who don't know Thai is to the point that deny access to justice. So it's like something that I think the government never know. And with the technology, with AI and what Agami that said before, it's like a promising that one day in the near future, we're gonna overcome this thing together as a collective action. For our, as I said, that for us ourselves, it's inspiration to get our data sharing from our app with a report and other incident report go to the government. At first, we address that by having asked directly to the government, but sometimes we have our challenges in terms of that. We got a solution that maybe we try some immediate function like case management system. So we have to work with other organizations that provide case management in terms of allow us to provide data from ourselves to the government. In the meantime, for us, we're going to use AI for data analysis because we have inspiration to provide what we call data intelligence for better prevention and better protection of victims of trafficking and to identify trafficking. We hope to identify the trend and the possibility and stop the crime before it happens. So for the non-generation, I think it's like we work with private sector, we provide and also with civil societies, NGOs that we work with, we provide dashboard in terms of to respond to the trend, the new trend to have like supply chain transparency and human rights due diligence. So, okay, that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kundorna, for that extraordinary overview of the work of your organization and how you are using technology to provide the protection and remedies to the people who need them. We now turn to Tahera at eGov, and it will be, I think, fascinating to hear from her how one DPG created by eGov has been used in 3 different ways for women and girls. And it's really this modularity aspect and reusable sort of Lego building block aspect of DPG that I think Tahera will be able to take us through. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Kate. So let me jump right in and present my screen. So what I want to take you through in the 10 minutes that I have are 3 examples of DPIs that are built and rolled out on the ground on the base platform that Kate mentioned, which is Digit, and what we've seen as their impact. And then take a step back and look at what are some of the key enabling themes that we had, which allowed technology to work on the ground and really transform the lives of women. The first example that we have is of the Mukta scheme in a state in India called Odisha. The Mukta scheme largely aims to create women entrepreneurs on ground by giving them community infrastructure development projects. So there are a lot of roads that are to be built, there are parks that have to be built. And traditionally, we know that vendors have been men that have been contracted to do this task. What the Odisha government came up with decided was that why don't we create a mission around giving some of these projects to women. most of these schemes are delivered today by self-help groups that are both led by women and also have wage seekers as women. And what we've been able to do through the implementation of a DPI, which is called Mukta Soft on Ground, is one, not only provide these women self-help groups with systems that allow them to manage projects efficiently, but also increase the speed with which they get payments for the work that they do. And we've been able to see that there has been a reduction in the time that it takes to get your daily wages from about 90 days to 9 days. And as a rippling effect of that, what we've really seen happen on ground is that some of these women have started now viewing themselves, and also people around them have started viewing them not only as people who are daily wage seekers, but as entrepreneurs. And this has created like a sense of empowerment in the community. The second example that I'd like to talk about is just give me a second. Figure out. Is another platform called Sujog FSSM, which is also deployed in Orissa. It is a sanitation platform that allows for tracking of waste right from collection to disposal. And what we've seen is, again, with the support of enabling policies from Orissa, most of the treatment plants, and there are about 100 of them, are all led and managed by women and transgender SHGs on ground. And over the past 4 years, this has not only created a sense of dignity, given that there is now a formalization of the job that they do on ground, but also has allowed them to get financially independent, and also in a lot of cases employ men on ground to be a part and work at to be a part of the group and work at the treatment plant, and then take up leadership positions in communities. The third example is something that Susan also mentioned in the beginning, which is the scholarship platform that has recently been piloted in Rajasthan. Traditionally, there are three main issues that we've seen on ground girls face to access scholarships. One is mostly they do not know these scholarships exist. The second is they either do not have the documents to apply for these scholarships, or even if the documents are present, to prove the validity of the documents, there are intermediaries that they have to go through that either charge them money for it or create barriers to that access. And thirdly, because the processing time of these scholarships is so large, usually it takes about 180 days for the scholarship, for the money to hit either the bank account or get it in cash. And by this time, girls have already dropped out of school. The pilot that we ran in a small town in Rajasthan enabled about 100 community members to come together and bring in funds, and led to the both verification of validity and dispersal of funds in about 1 day. What brings all of these three examples, as Kate mentioned earlier, is bringing together modular interoperable DPGs that are already implemented on ground or have been built to address some of these use cases. So for example, for the social benefits platform, which was Mukta, to happen on ground, there were components of Aadhaar, which is India's identity platform. There's UPI, which is the payment platform in India, and Digit, which is the public service delivery platform, coming together and providing small building blocks that provide transformative change across a use case. And sometimes just technology isn't enough, right? And what we've seen in some of these use cases is that policy people on the ground, which is the community, and Smita, and we saw that in the case of Mass Harbor also, people that are on ground also play a very large role in terms of acting as enabling factors. So beyond just tech, there are supporting structures that we see that are emerging on ground, be it in the form of either government funding or local philanthropy funding, be it community members, organizations, individuals that are volunteering to create systemic change, or policies that governments are defining to actually drive change and create that impact. One of the things that I definitely like to point out here is that without some of these support, and we've seen this in multiple technology implementations in the past, without some of these supporting structures, adoption of technology might lead to very quantitative measurable outcomes, such as X number of phones that might have been distributed on ground, X number of bank accounts that might have been opened. But there is definitely a need to for people on the ground to create a mindset shift, to create a sense of empowerment, to actually lead to end outcomes. Before I leave, I'd just like to leave you with a quick thought. There are multiple DPGs, DPIs that already exist out there, both designed and implemented on ground. And most of the programs might or might not have been designed with some of these enabling structures in place. I think it is important for us to go back, look at how implementation is placed, look at data from some of these implementations to really see what are the systems that exist, what are norms that exist, what are barriers that exist on ground, and see how do we build structures around it to lead to financial and social empowerment, to bring legitimacy to leadership, or to drive further education, access to education. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tahera, for that very sort of complete but visual idea about how the DPGs and DPI can come together and be reused and rebundled in different ways, but also I think reiterating these points that we've heard about the need for people on the ground, community face-to-face, that it all has to be embedded at that level if it's actually going to generate the meaningful change that we're looking for. When we talk about DPI and DPG, there's a whole ecosystem of partners, as you've said, that come together to make it work, particularly when we engage communities. And one of the things that is really valuable in this space is the need to have women in tech, women as part of the tech enabling partners that are building and working with communities and all the other partners on from the very conceptualization all the way through the design and the prototyping and the implementation and the reflection and the looking at the data from it. And part of the solution is really to have this cohort of women coming out of universities and understanding how the work that they're doing as computer engineers can benefit society in this wider sense. And so our next speaker is Arundhati, who heads the Women in Tech team at Tinker Hub in Kerala. And we're going to hear more about the astonishing work that Tinker Hub does and about a very exciting iteration of a hackathon that's about to begin this weekend. So Arundhati, actually, thank you so much for joining us. You've got thousands of young women who are about to launch into this. So over to you on the sorts of opportunities that are really important for young women and how Tinker Hub is going about addressing that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kate. Am I both visible and audible?
Yes, you are. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Hi all. First of all, thank you so much for having me for this webinar. I do consider, along with all my community members, that this is a privilege for us to present a bit about ourselves and the work that we do, and especially about the hackathon that's actually going to happen in the next few hours. So as I mentioned to Kate yesterday, it's a great timing to be able to present about the whole thing to all of you. My name is Arundhati. I work and volunteer as a program manager at a non-profit called Tinker Hub, which is based out of Kochi. Our focus is on creating an ecosystem for fostering more makers across Kerala. We currently focus just across Kerala, but we do have plans of expanding it across India. Most of our learning programs, hackathons, and whatever boot camps that we do, all are directed towards encouraging more youth and more students across Kerala to become makers. Over the past many years, we have identified that students across Kerala, they have a lot of theoretical knowledge, they have a lot of practical knowledge, but they confine themselves to just employment across MNCs, etc. But we do understand they have the potential to build products, they have the potential to become makers, essentially become entrepreneurs or so and so. So the whole idea of Tinker Hub is to foster more makers across Kerala. Now, to be specific, I want to talk about our Women in Tech initiative. So, Tinker Hub started 10 years back. This September, we celebrated 10 years of Tinker Hub. And we have a community of thousands, to be specific, 35,000 community members across Kerala, mostly students. And over the past 10 years of Tinker, we have identified that for whatever learning programs or competitive hackathons that we do, there is a significant low when it comes to the number of women who attend the learning programs and hackathons. Given the same, when we did do a survey on the reasons why these girls hesitate to either participate or turn up for the competitive hackathons or learning programs, what we identified is that they lack the confidence to speak about tech in a public group. This is the statement that majority of them used while we were doing a survey with a group of girls. And we do have communities of girls across all colleges, almost all engineering and arts and science colleges in Kerala. And we do have regular catch-ups with them. So one thing that they have constantly mentioned is that they are hesitant to talk about tech in a group of general candidates because they feel what if they go wrong is one thing that they constantly mention. So over the past 10 years, we have had an active Women in Tech initiative under Tinker Hub, where we encourage more girls to participate in hackathons, in project buildings, in learning programs, in open mics. And we have been consistent with the same. And the flagship event of our Women in Tech initiative is Think Her Hack, which is a hackathon that will be held across Kerala over all districts. So Kerala has 14 districts, and one among the major challenges faced by women across all these districts is mobility. It is essential that all these girls, or for that fact, we have identified that the difference arises when girls are unable to spend a lot of time with each other, because it's important that they spend a lot of time with each other to actually brainstorm about a problem statement, identify a solution, and come up with a project or a product that can help solve that solution. And they are not getting enough time for that. For regular hackathons, generally hackathons require a minimum time span of 18 hours to ideate, brainstorm, and come up with a solution. Now for the girls, essentially, if we start the hackathon at morning 8 a.m. and if we end it at around 5 p.m. in the evening, they are getting around 7 to 8 hours to build, which is very less as compared to the actual time required for them to essentially come up with the solution and complete the project. For that, we have identified two solutions. One is a decentralized model, which does not require the girls to travel across the district. So Tinker Hack work in a way where parallelly across 80 venues, we will be conducting the hackathon. So all through the district, in each district of Kerala, 2 to 3 venues will be holding the hackathon, and girls can attend the hackathon from their respective district. So it's more like bringing a hackathon to your neighborhood is the whole concept of Tinker Hack. And secondly, Tinker Hack is overnight hackathon, because we wanted to give the girls at least 18 hours of build. One problem we have solved here is the safety of women while traveling during the night time. We have cut down that safety concern because girls essentially have to travel. Even if they do have to travel, they have to travel in the morning. They have to reach the venue. They'll be staying in the safe environment of the venue overnight, where there will be proper faculty, volunteers, women volunteers, and security personals. They'll be building over the span of 18 to 24 hours, and in the morning around 11 to 12 in the noon, they'll be traveling back to their respective homes. So we have solved the mobility issue and kind of solved the safety concerns of women this way. And for the past 3 editions, we have had huge turnover for Tingha Hack. So the first edition happened in 2021 with 500 participants across 5 venues in Kerala. We scaled it up last year to 1,104 participants across 28 venues in Kerala. And this year, we are aiming at 4,000 participants across 80 venues in Kerala. And today, it's the 7th day of registration, and I was showing a glimpse of the registration dashboard to Kate yesterday. And I wanted to share the same with you to give the live update of what is the current status of registrations. Just give me a second. I hope my screen is visible. Yeah, so at the moment, this is the registration dashboard. So today is apparently the 6th day of registration, and we have already crossed 3,500 registrations. And what is the most fascinating part of this registration process was we have come across students, girls studying food processing technology. We have come across girls studying agriculture. We have come across girls studying chemistry, physics, biology, who have turned up, who have registered for the hackathon. And when we did ask them why, they mentioned they have identified that there is a need to understand tech and get involved in the whole process of getting involved in tech, because they believe that working in the interdisciplinary sector is the most important thing that they can do at the moment. So for us, it has been a huge revelation. So while we started the whole planning process of Tinker Hack, we kind of made it, we made the entire program plan such a way that it suited engineering and arts and science students. But right now, since we have extreme beginners who are from diverse backgrounds, we have kind of simplified the problem statements a little bit so that they can work more easily and gain more confidence. And let me just share my screen and show you a few of the M&E reports. So we did an M&E survey for every hackathon that we do. We do M&E survey, which are 2 surveys. One is the socioeconomic survey for the entire set of participants who attend the hackathon. Second is the learning survey that we do towards the end of the hackathon. And the following is the results for last year's hackathon. This is the website for Tingharak. So this was a part of the impact report that we had developed. So around 90% of the participants or girls who had attended our hackathons, they were attending a hackathon for the first time. And 40% of the participants reported that they came across new technologies during the hackathon. And the most fascinating thing for us is almost 35% of the participants mentioned that post-hackathon they gained confidence to speak about tech in general in a public audience. And we have been following up with these participants post the hackathon also. We have been engaging with them and encouraging them to attend general hackathons as well. And they have constantly mentioned that it has been easier for them to participate in general hackathons, which are not women only. Now it's easier for them to participate in that. And 90% had reported that they had learned at least one new technology as a part of the hackathon. So these are few of the numbers that we found relevant after after the hackathon, which might be useful to communicate to others also. Now, the whole reason why we have been conducting the hackathon for the past 3 years, from an outside perspective, this is a 24-hour overnight hackathon. But for the past 3 years, we have been engaging with thousands of girls who have attended the hackathon, who had the potential to attend the hackathon, who completed the hackathon and stayed in touch with us, who are a part of the community. We have had instances from where volunteers from our end had to call parents and husbands of the girls who attended the hackathon and convince them. So we are very much in touch with the girls and their stories. To be specific, girls in northern parts of Kerala, to be specific, Malabar part of Kerala, they get married off at pretty early age in their 18, 19, 20. So that's the time span when they actually do their graduation, when they actually engage in their undergraduate program. So while in college, they are married and their responsibility is taken care mostly by their husbands or in-laws. So we have had situations where we have called up to our volunteers have called many girls and their parents and their husbands every day to convey to them the importance of attending the hackathon, how it can change the life, etc. Surprisingly, a lot of these family members have shown support, especially because the hackathon is happening very near to their home. They did not have much concern as to the women did not have to travel much to reach the venue and attend the hackathon. From the perspective of the girls who do attend the hackathon, it's more like imagine thousands of girls who are building projects together, all connected through a Google Meet. So across 80 venues in Kerala, around 50 to 100 participants will be attending the hackathon per venue. And all these venues will be connected online. And they'll be able to see all the rest of the girls who will be engaging, and they are doing peer learning, they are getting mentorship from the mentors, and they're building something amazing. And last year we were able to pull up to 300 projects developed by 1,000 girls across Kerala. This year we are looking at 1,000 projects developed by 4,000 girls across Kerala. And all these projects will be published across the web for everyone to see. And right now we have partnered with Kerala Startup Mission, which is an entrepreneurship initiative by the government of Kerala, along with Anita Bor Grace Hopper Celebration India. Grace Hopper Celebration is one among the largest celebration for women globally, and they have partnered with us, and they'll be sponsoring 100 scholarship tickets for the top 100 participants of Tinker Hack to attend the Grace Hopper Celebration, which will be happening in Bangalore from December 2nd to December 4th. And IEEE Women in Engineering Affinity Group is another partner for Tinker Hack this year. They have also sponsored to become an ecosystem partner. So in most of the colleges where IEEE Women in Engineering Affinity Group is active, they'll be holding the hackathon at their respective venues as well. So these are the key partners of Tinker Hack this year. And that's a bit about Tinker Hack and why we are conducting the hackathon and how it has helped women and girls across Kerala for the past few years, and how we believe it can change the world in the next few years. We do hope to see a world where Tinker Hub should not have a women in tech specific initiative. We do hope that there comes a world where we do not have to conduct programs specifically for women. We do hope to see a world where there is equality and girls are comfortable to participate in general programs and their turn-up ratio is high and equal. That is the world we are looking at. We do not want to conduct something exclusive for girls. We do not want to make them feel they need special assistance to overcome something. We want to just help them understand it's possible for them as much as it is possible for everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arundhati. That was an amazing overview of quite an extraordinary undertaking that's happening this weekend. You know, thousands of young people across over 60 locations, several different dates, and all the work that goes into that. And of course, the fact that Tinker Hub is going to be involved in what will hopefully be an all India All Women Hackathon shortly as well. So really extraordinary work. Thank you so much for joining us. Moritz, it's lovely to have you here. And I'd love you to introduce yourself and your role and your links to these incredible documents that were formulated and launched in September of last year. Thank you, and over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kate. Can everybody hear me? And do you see my screen?
We can, Moritz. Thanks so much.
Perfect. All right. So it's a pleasure to be here today. So my name is Moritz. I'm an advisor at the Office for Digital and Emerging Technologies at the UN Secretariat. We used to be the Office of the Secretary General's Envoy on Technology, but that has changed 1st of January. So you see the old name around and then the new name, what was OSET is now ODET. I think the red thread towards this entire event here is that the work that we have been doing with the DPI Safeguards Initiative answers or provides guidance on the governance framework around how some of the solutions that some of you have presented here today, I think I'm specifically thinking about the eGov solutions, would be built in a way so that they are really safe and inclusive. And I want to just give you a bit of an overview of where the DPI Safeguards Initiative came from, what the role of the Global Digital Compact is, but then also talk a bit about the framework itself and how you all can contribute to it. So I just want to go a bit through the timeline through the process that we have gone through so far. So some of you may be familiar with the Global Digital Compact. So that is an agreement that the UN member states negotiated amongst each other, and it basically is supposed to be a document where the UN member states agree on the shared values of the global digital transformation. And one of the topics that emerged early on in the negotiations was that of digital public infrastructure. And the Secretary General of the United Nations, he sees the risks of he sees the benefits, but also the risks of digital public infrastructure. And so in the GDC process, the UN was wondering, okay, so what is actually the contribution that can be made at the UN level? So therefore, in his input into the GDC process, the Secretary General called for the creation of common frameworks. So basically a shared understanding of what safe and inclusive digital public infrastructure can look like. And based on this, the partnership was for the DPI Safeguards Initiative was formed. So the initiative was led by the Office for Digital and Emerging Technologies together with the UNDP. And yeah, so we've launched the initiative last year, and we've presented the first version of the DPI Safeguards Framework this last September during the UN General Assembly. And this is also when the Global Digital Compact was adopted. I'll say a few words about what such a process looks like, because it gives also a window of how you, for example, can contribute to this process. So it has been a multi-stakeholder co-creation process. So we had a call for nominations out last year around the same time. There's one out right now as well. I'll talk about this in a second. And these working groups, they created the DPI Safeguards Framework. And we've also worked together with 12 other international organizations to provide feedback, to give input on what is being produced. Through UNDP, we have done extensive country engagement as well. And we are also regularly organizing our own events. We go to conferences where we organize convenings, webinars to get input from as many communities as possible. This gives you an overview of the two main outputs of the initiative last year. So one is the framework itself. You can either find it through our website or you scan the QR code. It is a navigable tool. It consists of around 300 recommendations that the working groups have developed. And you can filter it depending on the circumstances that you're in and who you are. And if you have feedback for this, you can, we are well aware this is the first iteration of it. We wanted to come up with a first version of it, put it out there to get quick feedback so we can design as close to the user as possible. On the right-hand side, you see the link that will lead you to the guide to the framework, giving you an overview of the process, but also the thinking behind the initiative itself. And, I think, so Smita said it very nicely. So it takes a village to provide a good user-centered service. And this is also one of the fundamental premises of the DPI Safeguards Initiative. So we really try to make sure that anybody who is involved in making sure that services and that DPI is safe and inclusive gets the right recommendations for the right stage in the life cycle that a DPI is in. So you'll see, so it's a bit like a Rubik's Cube. So the framework is a Rubik's Cube essentially, and you can turn and twist it and extract what information is relevant for you depending on the context that you operate in. So if you are on the framework side itself, so this is the thinking behind how we have visualized it. And we are also very well aware that there's no such thing as a greenfield. You always operate with legacy systems. There are always other things out there already. So the recommendations are also structured across the entire DPI lifecycle. Yeah, I would like to just say a few words and invite you all to also contribute to the effort. So right now we have a call for nominations out. We extended it for another 10 days. So it's open until 31st of January. And we're looking for people to join the working groups. On the website, you can either nominate yourself or you can nominate someone for whom this may be interesting. But also very importantly, if you feel like you work with communities for whom this is relevant. So for example, take the gender lens, so we know that the framework right now is not all encompassing. We did focus on what we felt we could do during this first iteration. But for example, the gender lens is not 100% there yet. So what we will do in this next cycle is we will put a stronger focus on this. We will organize convenings with affected communities to get a better understanding of what processes and practices need to be in place when DPI is built, so that it's also safe and inclusive and gender sensitive as well in all regards. And like if you work with these communities and you are, for example, interested in doing a deep dive on a part of the framework, want to provide us with feedback or input that you would like to see considered, then I invite you to reach out to us. You can write me an email and we can find a suitable format to collect your input. Yeah, and we are also making public which events we are at and what webinars we are organizing. Yeah. And if we have time, I'm also very open to answer any questions that you may have. But I don't, Kate, do we have time for that or not?
We will do, but I just wanted to, I've got probably one more short intervention that I'm going to allow to happen now. And then if we have questions, there's a Q&A. And so I invite, while we have this short intervention, others to put questions into the Q&A. Thank you so much, Moritz.
Thank you all. See you soon.
See you soon. We have someone joining as a participant on this webinar, Vijay from Gramvani. And whenever we engage in these sorts of discussions, we often receive lots of questions and comments about DPI, DPG, it might work in certain environments, but in the communities and the women and girls that I interact with, they don't have smartphones, they don't have internet connections or data. Surely this is just for the elites and the middle class. How does this work? I can't understand how this works for the grassroots communities that we are working with. And Vijay from Gramvani has really spent a very long time with his colleague and colleagues and co-founders thinking about this and basically creating a DPG that does exactly that, works without smartphones and works without having to have internet at the base in order to connect communities. And I understand that Vijay is able to share with us, and yes, now I can see him as a panelist. That's great. Perhaps can share with us 5 or so minutes on how do you do this, because it is quite amazing, and what Gramvani means, what it translates into, and how it operates in practice. Thank you so much, Vijay.
Thank you so much, Kate. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are. Thank you, Vijay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And wonderful to be on this call. Indeed a privilege, and also grateful to be given this opportunity to represent Gramvani and all the communities that we work with. So I'm Vijay Sai Pratap, representing Gramvani. And Gramvani has been around for over a decade now, and we have been working towards building voice-based community media platforms or voice-based participatory media platforms. And what I'm probably trying to highlight through these few minutes is specifically our work at the intersection of gender and technology that we've explored through these voice-based participatory platforms. When we speak about digital public infrastructure or digital public goods, I think one of the most fundamental aspects that we've been looking at, while this terminology is something that we will all acknowledge has been, has come up over the recent years, what we've been focusing on is about the participatory nature of platforms and technologies. How do we build these technologies? How do we ensure that they are inclusive? How do we ensure that people who do not have access to smartphones or internet-based channels or have constraints associated to literacy or digital literacy, how do you ensure their voices are represented? And I think in that context, Gramvani has been building a very hyperlocal, community-anchored digital platforms where users can just access these platforms through a simple feature phone. They do not need internet. All they need is just a simple, a mobile connection. And the way they've been able to use the platforms is by giving a missed call to a number that is mapped to the local geographies. What we've called them as mobile Vani clubs. So Gramvani translates to voice of the village. And that's exactly how we've sort of tried to build this whole platform. So Mobile Vani actually is a federated network of community media platforms, and each of these district level instances think of them almost like a localized or an instantiated version of a social media platform, but accessible over voice as a channel. So the key benefits are that they're accessible through feature phones. Users don't need a smartphone. They don't need an internet connection. It's a channel. It's a voice-based channel. People can just speak in their local language. They listen to content which is created by the communities and for communities in their own local language. And this ensures one, contextual information that's available for communities, which otherwise is a challenge when you look at conventional media or other forms of media. Two is that information that enables and helps build solidarity within the community and also ensures that people build a complete understanding of the local issues and a shared understanding of these local issues. This is how we have been able to build a large network of community platforms, and some of these instances have been focused specifically on women. and the most marginalized segments. One of our interventions, which is called Meri Awaaz, Meri Pehchan, which basically means my voice, my identity, right? A program that was launched in 2017-18, as part of the Women's Connect Challenge USAID grant, has been a great learning for us and has been expanded and scaled to multiple geographies in India, and has touched over close to 50,000 plus users and has generated over 500,000 voice reports. So a couple of key criteria that we've been always looking at is it's not just enough to develop technologies by taking a user-centric or a community-centric design. What we also have to focus on is building the capacity of communities, most of them that we're talking about are first-time technology users, building their capacity and also ensuring equitable access, right? Wherein we, through our community volunteers who belong to these communities, are able to run these community workshops, train these women to use the platforms, encourage them, ensure that women who don't have their own devices, our volunteers are able to interview them and ensure their voices are also represented on the platform, ensuring that there's representativeness across class, caste, and gender lines, and more importantly, ensuring that offline processes are also integrated into these digital channels, right? That's the first criteria, and we've actually implemented it across many gender programs. The second is creating a safe space wherein women feel comfortable. Our platforms have an option for users to be anonymized, where they know that it's a safe space. They are listening to other women, listening to other impact stories, and they get inspired by the stories shared by other women, and hence, not just gives them the courage to share their own stories or learn from others' stories, but also helps them collectivize over local action. The third point is specifically around creating learning environments, wherein, again, to emphasize the importance of context and completeness, our theory of information has been broadly based on this process. And the participatory approaches ensures that women are able to learn, from each other, and hence it becomes a very community-anchored knowledge-sharing platform. And most importantly, the third part, which is the community ownership, which is where our community volunteers who are identified from the women, who are trained to reach out, and reach out to the most underserved, most marginalized women and community members, and ensure their voices are also represented on the platform. This community ownership is what leads to our platforms, what we call them as digital community commons, right? And that's of very high value and importance, because this is what we follow to ensure that there is a reversal of information, right? And which ensures that their voices are represented as part of the broader narrative and broader efforts or policies when we're building technologies, building solutions, building policies. Because unless and until we build these feedback loops where users are able to not just listen and learn from each other, but are also able to share their grievances, share their concerns, provide feedback. And that's how the platforms, and when we talk about DPGs and DPIs, then we need to be ensuring that we have the humility to accept the feedback and provide these feedback loops. And this feedback is incorporated into improving the quality of these platforms and ensuring inclusion and also representation as well. So I think that these are a few critical points that I probably wanted to highlight, but I'll be happy to share more information or reports that we've worked on over the years across the gender programs, and how the Mobile One network of platforms have been used across different thematic areas, just with the inclusion of just at the intersection of gender, whether it's gender and agriculture, gender and livelihood, gender and climate in the new context, or gender even in the context of gender-based violence, right? How these platforms can help women specifically to sort of, firstly become more aware and informed, and also take more action, and also work on actionable information as well on the ground with other community members. So I'll probably pause here. Happy to address any questions, but I'll also be happy to share more information with everybody. So thank you, Kate. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and happy to address any questions if there may be any.
Thank you very much, Vijay. Could cutting across everything that we've been speaking about in this webinar, which we'll be bringing to a close now, are these themes, intersecting themes of awareness, access, and use, and how we actually make that a reality. And I think the wonderful snapshot that we just got from Vijay then is about a whole cohort in our community that actually want to learn things, they want to get awareness, they want to access services, and they want to use services all through voice. They like listening to radios, and they want to essentially, the DPG that is Gramvani is really this extraordinary ability to just with a dumb phone, with a feature phone, to be able to just make a call, hang up, and then basically be brought into this loop, this whole community network of information, and to then be able to engage and send these voice messages in, and to have that curated by volunteers. And it's quite extraordinary, both the volume of interventions and the information that's being disseminated. Vijay speaks of this really high proportion, 90, 95, 98% of the content coming from the community. And that really is the essence of a community-based transmission of information and grievance redressal system. And as Vijay has said, it can operate across any sphere, and it is working in the violence against women sphere as well. So I just wanted to end with that note, so that we didn't appear to be operating at a stratospheric level, but to understand that DPGs can operate at any level, without smartphones, without internet connectivity, and that we really need all these examples in our portfolio to be able to think and work together, really, for the most marginalized groups in our societies, and make DPI work. And so to all the participants, all the speakers today, all the people who have joined, and all the people who have registered, thank you very much. We've chosen to run this in a South Asia, Southeast Asia time zone, and we're well aware that we have lots of people who will be coming online and will listen to this recording because they're in different time zones. But UN Women is looking to consider with partners these issues going forward, and particularly in the context of a very important Commission on the Status of Women, which is coming up in March this year, when we recognize 30 years since the Beijing conference. So we have lots of tools at our disposal, and hopefully we can bring the thinking and the communities together to make some of these important changes. We've had some questions come through, and I've seen that we have answered them. And Vijay has given his contact as the last one coming through there, which is great. And so hopefully we can stay connected. Thank you to everyone, and look forward to keeping in touch over the next year. Thank you.